Welcome back. Today is Sunday, October the 27th, 2019. And this is a video that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I've just finally sat down to do it. 1 year ago today is when I first got sick with the disease I have, Wegener's Gramulatosis. If you're not familiar with my story, down below you can check out a playlist called My Journey with Wegener's Gramulatosis, and it will start at the very beginning when I was in the hospital up to about 2.5 months ago when I did my last update. That being said, when I first got sick, I had no idea I was as sick as I was. I really just thought it was something minor. I was being treated for an upper respiratory infection. They think that either the infection mutated and caused my Wegener's, and then I had another doctor tell me that I was a carrier for the Wegener's, and that was the catalyst that actually activated it. We don't know. There is no known cause and there is no known cure for this disease. But today I am going to talk about what it's like for me to have an invisible illness. And this is really, I think, goes for anybody with an invisible and or chronic illness. I don't look sick. I realize that. I've really never looked sick other than maybe the first 3 or 4 months. And that's when I was on dialysis and I was doing chemo at the same time. So it was extremely taxing on my body. And since I went into remission in March. My health has definitely improved. Now, remission does not mean I'm cured. I used to think remission meant you're cured. Remission means that my disease is under control, but I still have it. I still have the effects of my disease. It's just controlled, and it's controlled by medication. And I was put into remission by medication. I started at 60 milligrams of prednisone a day. I now take 10 milligrams. The goal is to eventually get me down to 5 milligrams a day. And prednisone has a lot of bad side effects, which I did a video about, and you can check that one out. Just real short is it's affected my heart, it's affected my stomach, and it's affected my liver. But it's kept me alive, and so I have to weigh the pros and the cons. And for me, the cons are not that bad when I look at the pros that it's kept me alive. I also do Rituxan, which is an antibody therapy, every 6 months. I will probably do that the rest of my life. It's similar to chemo, but not quite the same. It's more targeted, and it's not a poison like chemo. It's actually antibodies. I basically have no immune system right now. And we're coming up on flu season, which will change the way I do things. I probably will not go out in public any more than I absolutely have to. And when I do, I will wear a surgical mask to keep myself as safe as possible. So anyhow, what I'm going to talk about today is a color-coded chart explaining what it's like to have an invisible illness. There's 4 colors. There is a green day, there is a yellow day, there's an orange day, and then there's a red day. Okay. Green days, and this is just for me, of course this can vary from person to person, but a green day is a day that I can do pretty much whatever I want. I feel fairly good. I do get tired. I tell people all the time I live in a perpetual state of exhaustion. But I can pretty much do what I want on these days. These are days I take advantage of. I will tackle any household chores I want to do. I may go run around, run errands, do some shopping, things like that. I generally will probably push myself a little bit more than I should, but I do try to take advantage of these days. These days are fairly rare for me. They're increasing, but they're still fairly rare. I would say now, green day for me is probably 3 to 4 times a month. It varies, some months maybe more, some months less. But these are really good days for me. These are not days like I used to have. I will never be the way I used to be. I'll never be the person I was. But these are really good days for me. second day I have our yellow days. And for me, a yellow day is pretty much my normal. I would say yellow day is probably 5 out of 7 days a week. These are days that I can do things, but I have to take breaks. I will generally nap at least once, if not twice in the day. A lot of times I will nap in the morning before I go to work. And I do work part-time. I work 4 days a week. I work about 15, 16 hours a week is all. And so generally I will take a nap in the mornings before I go to work. Sometimes I'll nap in the afternoons. I have to take breaks, which the job I have now, I talked about it in my last video, is I work for Jimmy John's doing deliveries. Unfortunately, I cannot work my career I had before because of my health. And so I do work part-time. I do SSDI, but I'm able to work part-time. So I work and I make about what I need to, the max I can make a month doing that. But it's a nice way to get out of the house. It's good for a little extra money. It's definitely helping me out now as my living situation has changed a little bit. Well, not a little bit, extremely. But anyhow, these are pretty good days for me. They're not real bad. I've learned to listen to my body, and my body tells me, okay, this is a good day. You can do this, you can do this, but you can't do that. So again, this is kind of my new normal. And then you have orange days. Now, orange days for me are my body's way of saying, hey, you better slow it down. And so I do listen to my body. These are days that I may do a little bit of work, but I'm going to spend a great deal of my day resting. I can't work on an orange day. Thankfully, I've only had a handful of orange days on work days. And I have a great manager there who used to be a nurse and is familiar with chronic and invisible illnesses. And she does watch me, and she can tell when I'm starting to feel bad or get too tired, and she will let me go home. But these days, I would say, are probably, I would say maybe 4 days a month, 5 days, 6 days, maybe. They generally follow a green day for me. I may pretty much rest, like I said, for the most part. I can do things. I can cook. I can do a little bit of housework, maybe fold laundry, things like that. But I definitely have to listen to my body. Now, then you have your red days. And for me, a red day are the worst days. Red days are days that even the most minute things are difficult for me. It's hard for me to shower. It's hard for me to get dressed. It's hard for me to get out of bed. I will generally on these days get up. I'll brush my teeth. I'll run a brush through my hair. I may change into different pajamas, and I will sit in my recliner for the whole day. I don't get up unless I absolutely have to, which would be letting the dog out if my son's not home. If my son's home, I'll just shoot him a text, which I know sounds silly, but he spends all his time in his room. He's a teenager, and ask him to let the dog out for me. I don't cook usually. I will either have Parker just fix something for himself. We may have him reheat leftovers. Might have a sandwich. A lot of times I don't even eat. These are the absolutely worst days for me. And actually the first probably 3.5 months, maybe 4 months of my illness after I was diagnosed were red days. I was not hardly able to do anything. I couldn't drive. I couldn't shop. I couldn't hardly cook. There was just very little I could do. It was complete and utter exhaustion. So for me, the best way to explain what it's like for me is have you ever had the flu? If you've ever had the flu and you've just been incredibly weak and tired, that is pretty much how I feel all the time. I don't know if I've just gotten used to it or what. I think that's probably what it is. I've just learned to live with it. I've learned to deal with it. It's definitely, there are days that I struggle with it. It's gotten better over time. I'm coming up on 1 year, and I'm learning to accept my new normal. I know my last video I was really struggling with it, but I've had some other things hit me, and this illness is kind of on the back burner for me as far as that goes. So I'm learning to deal. I don't like it. I never will like it, but I've accepted it. It is my lot in life. I tend to sometimes feel sorry for myself because I'm human, but then I remind myself that I was given 46 years of beautiful health. I was never sick prior to getting this. I did not have any issues at all. And I look at people I know. I have a friend whose grandson who was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer at the age of 3 or 4 months old. He spent the first 2 years of his life battling cancer, being subjected to chemotherapy. I can't even fathom being a child and having to have the chemo that he had. My chemo at least was only every 3 weeks, and it only lasted me 30 minutes. You know, I can't even fathom to be that sick and that kind of pain that he had to be in. I have another friend whose best friend's son is 14 years old and is in the hospital because he needs a heart transplant. He was healthy one day and then he wasn't. I can't imagine being 14 years old and being terrified I'm going to die. You know, I can't even wrap my head around it. I saw a post on a Wegener's group I belong to of a little girl, I want to say 13, 14 years old, and has Wegener's and had the same, looking for my words here, these same, affected her the same. So she was on dialysis. She was getting plasmapheresis. She was getting chemo. That was hard being 46, 47 years old. I can't imagine being a child. So I'm just thankful for what I was given. Yeah, I'm just going to say it was a shit hand. But you know what? It is what it is. And I'm strong. I have fought my entire life. And I will continue to battle. I mean, I've said this 100 times or 1,000 times. There's no logical reason, no medical reason I'm still living. So I give God the glory for that, because I shouldn't be here today. But God knew what he was doing. I don't know what he's wanting me to do, what he's got planned for me, but I certainly am willing to do what he asked me. So what I wanted to really share this video though for was so you can understand what it's like to have an invisible illness. Just because you don't look sick does not mean you're not sick. And I look back at a post I saw on a local page for the town I live in, and a woman posted a really ugly post about she saw somebody who was parked at, I believe, the Walmart, and they got out and they had a handicap placard and there was nothing wrong with them. They were perfectly fine, blah, blah, blah. You don't know. I can get a placard to park in the handicap spot. I chose not to, and that may change someday, but I look perfectly healthy, but I promise you my body is literally trying to kill me. That is what an autoimmune disease does. My body attacks the healthy cells thinking it's an infection and invasion. I mean, it's what it is. I'm literally battling my own body to stay alive. So I just hope that you can appreciate this and understand that people who have chronic illnesses and invisible illnesses are not being lazy. There are limits on what we can do. Believe me, I really probably would give my right arm to be the person I was before. I would give just about anything to look like I used to look, to feel like I used to feel, to be able to do the things I used to be able to do, to work a full-time job at my career that I absolutely loved and I was good at. I don't like this. I don't want this, but I have to accept this. So I do hope you guys learned something. I don't know if you necessarily enjoyed this video, but I hope it was informative for you. Let me know in the comments down below if you have an invisible illness or somebody you love has an invisible illness. And just remember to be empathetic to people and realize that not everybody looks sick who's sick. All right, I hope you guys have a great day. And remember, not every day is good, but every day you open your eyes is a good day. And I will see you guys later.